do tonight is talk about some basic plant communities in Southern California and the animals that live there. And I've taken, it's really hard for me to try to figure out, okay, which one should I talk about, because we have a lot of different types of plant communities out there. But I chose some fairly interesting, some are not very widespread anymore, types of plant communities. And I'll talk about some of the plants that are there, but as well some of the animals and how they utilize the landscape, etc. Coastal Strand area. And in Southern California, of course, this is an area that is highly impacted by humans these days, because everybody wants to go to the beach and be by the beach and build near the beach, etc. So there's not a lot of areas left that support this coastal strand vegetation and the animals that live there. So things like, this is a plant, the Ventura Marsh milkfish, that I wanted to tell you a little story about. This was actually thought to be extinct for a number of years. No one had seen it in probably 20, 25 years. And it was interestingly rediscovered on an old oil field site up outside of Oxnard. This is one of my favorite communities, just because it smells so darn good. And this is a coastal sage scrub community. This is a classic Southern California landscape as far as I'm concerned. One that I definitely don't think gets enough appreciation by the folks that live here, and has been greatly reduced because we have a lot of development in amongst it. So this is a little map of where coastal sage scrub is actually has been identified, and you can see it doesn't get very far inland. And the stuff in Southern California here is what I'm going to concentrate on, actually just these types in here. We get into the chaparral plant community. One of the differences between like the coastal sage scrub and this, because you are probably looking at this and thinking, hey, I think it's insane, it all looks green, what's the big deal out there? Well, let me tell you, my pictures don't do any of this justice for sure. I'm a scientist, not a photographer. But what we're seeing here is a much denser, much taller plant community than the coastal sage scrub. If you were to walk through the coastal sage scrub, it would be actually not too bad to hike through, even if there weren't any trails, because the plants are maybe a meter tall or so. They don't have, any really tough stems. I mean, I've had to walk through a lot of it in my day, and it's a pretty nice plant community. It smells wonderful. It's made up of lots of different kinds of sages, and you come home smelling just heavenly. We get up to our higher elevations. Mount San Gregorio in Southern California is the tallest mountain that we have, over 12,000 feet, which is nothing to sneeze at. If any of you have tried to hike Old Grayback, you'll know it's a challenge. But we get up into some real high elevation type of plant communities, including the montane forests. And species that occur there include, some of the harbingers of glorious meadows are the lemon lily. This picture was taken up in the San Gabriel Mountains, where there's a nice population of them. And then deserts, the Great California Deserts. We have some pretty unique deserts here that are primarily just found in California. So I talked about the Colorado Desert sort of down south, and then the Mojave Desert up to the north. And some of the plant communities that live there include things like the lovely desert mallow that is very showy basically anytime it rains out there. Critters are one of the big critters for conservation issues out along the Cal deserts is the... So another really key area that is very charismatic here, and I think it's one of our most important things in Southern California, is our riparian areas. I like to think of this as sort of the veins and arteries of our landscape, because it's where the water is. Where all these other communities I talked about, yeah, they get some precip every year. These guys are the ones that stay wet all the time and are really key for a lot of plants and animals that are pretty unique to live in. So this is a picture of our own Santa Clara River in North LA County. the last free-flowing river in Southern California. It doesn't have a dam on it, and it runs from the desert essentially to Ventura and outflows in Oxnard. So even though sometimes it can be a really bleak scene out there, I have full confidence in Mother Nature that she's going to do a great job, much better than we could ever envision.